Hello, my friends, hello, and welcome once again to stately Vaughan Manor. Now, today we have an unusual Sunday penguin, not just your everyday Sunday penguin, no. A little something different today. So, you folks know, if you've been watching me for any length of time at all, that my favorite reprint house for classics is, of course, Penguin and the Penguin Classics. They don't always do the best version of classics, but most of the time they do. But as much as I love Penguin Classics, there's someone else that loves Penguin Classics even more than me. And that would be Penguin Classics. And they came out with this book, the Penguin Classics book, all about Penguin Classics. It is an epic of self-congratulation. So, the Penguin Classics book. Of course, as soon as I saw this, you knew I had to get it. So, I got the Penguin Classics book, and this is pretty cool, actually, if you're at all interested in the Penguin Classics, as I am, because it has a bunch of really cool stuff about the Penguin Classics in the Penguin Classics book. It's like a little museum between cloth hardcovers. And of course, it shows you the very first Penguin Classic that was ever published, and that would be this one, the Odyssey, the E.V. Rue translation, which is still available, and is a pretty good translation. The first Penguin Classic that I ever read was actually the Iliad, also translated by E.V. Rue. So that is cool. It was cool to see that. And has a bunch of historical information about how Penguin Classics came about. Now, originally, Penguin Classics was only translated works. So Greek and Roman classics translated into English and some other classics. It was much later that the Penguin Classics started doing English language stuff and more recent classics, as we call them, classics now. But this is a pretty cool book. It's divided into different sections, and it has examples of all their classics and the different styles of classics that they've had over time. It'll say a little wee bit about a bunch of the different books that they have published. This is still the ancient world right there, so you know that's a section I like quite a bit. And goes up and has some Christianity books. And it also has stuff from different parts of the world as well. We move into the David Wiley section here, the Middle Ages. A lot of cool books from the Middle Ages available from Penguin Classics. And this book talks about a bunch of them. It'll have the different examples of the different jacket styles. It'll go around the world. You'll see there's not too much from medieval Africa. 2 books. Now this book only covers up to about just after World War I, I believe. That would be the last stuff that it covers. A lot of cool stuff from Britain in the Penguin Classics, of course, because it's Penguin and it's British. Bunch of cool stuff in here. I think that they stopped when they did. This is my theory, that they stopped just after World War I, so they wouldn't have to do more modern stuff, and they would have to explain, if they did further on, they would have to explain Morrisseys Autobiography. Now, I don't know if you know about this. If Morrisseys Autobiography, if you've missed that, fantastic story. But Morrissey wanted to have his autobiography published. Who owns Penguin Classics? I'm always forgetting. But whatever company owns Penguin Classics, it's Random House. So Random House was going to publish Morrisseys Autobiography, but he would only let them publish it if they published it as a Penguin Classics. Now you'd think that they'll tell Morrissey, no dude, Your autobiography is not a classic. It's a new pop biography. There's nothing about that that is a classic anything. But they did it. They published Morrisseys Autobiography as a Penguin classic, which caused an uproar among many people, because it's like, well, you've completely destroyed your brand if you're publishing Morrisseys Autobiography as a classic. That's kind of a joke. I mean, no matter how much you like Girlfriend in a Coma, Morrissey's not classic. So it was a big to-do and sort of an embarrassment. Actually, it's kind of a huge embarrassment if you think about it. But Random House said, what the hell? Just do it. No one will remember in a few years anyway. And they were kind of right. Penguin Classics have just kept on going after that. Penguin Classics will make some interesting choices on classics. Usually these are pretty good choices. Putting Lovecraft, for example, in the Penguin Classics was a good choice. Clark Ashton Smith, a bunch of other authors that you wouldn't normally think of off the top of your head as a classic, they have made Penguin Classics. And usually I will agree with their choices. Morrissey, not so much. But I do like this book an awful lot. They've got the Domesday Book as a classic. Steve Donoghue had a great video. I think, if I'm remembering right, I think this was a Daily Penguin that he did, Domesday Book, talking about how boring it was. And he's right. It is. But, useful if you're a historian, I guess, working around that period. But if you're just going to read that stuff, no, it's pretty dull. We've got medieval and classical Asia. I mean, just one nice thing about this book, and I think the best thing that I've enjoyed, one of the things I've enjoyed most about it, I should say, is that you go through this and you see all of these wonderful books, so many of which I've not read, and I just go through this book and I'll just find things that I've never thought of reading, and then I want to read them. So this book has made me spend money, which I guess is kind of the point of this book. Aside from celebrating themselves, they also want you to buy more Penguin Classics. And it works, man. It totally works. And I'm happy to do it. There we've got M.R. James. And this is cool because it has the different editions of M.R. James that they've printed over time. I did a Sunday Penguin about M.R. James not too long ago. A couple months ago, maybe. I forget when I did it. Man, my memory's starting to slip. Could have been that long ago. I've only been on the BookTube a few months. And just all kinds of cool stuff in this book. You can spend a lot of time looking at this book and finding different things that you want to read. So it's a lot of fun, I have to say. I enjoy the Penguin Classics book, and I wanted to give you guys a little look at it. I heard a rumor that they were going to do a second one that would cover the more recent Penguin Classics, but we'll see. If they do, I really, really want them to put that Morrissey biography in there, but I suspect they'll sweep it under the rug. We'll see. We'll see if it happens. But until then, we've got this book, and you can look through here and find out all kinds of cool stuff. And it even has a little section in here about all the Penguin Classics that are no longer in print. They were classics, and now they're no longer. At least they're no longer in print. I've got a few of these books. I've got a few of these. I'm sure Steve Donoghue has all of them. But it's just a cool little thing, this book. So there. A change of pace episode of the Sunday Penguin. So, yeah. The Penguin Classics book. Tomorrow, it's back to our Mythos Monday. What story will I be talking about tomorrow? You'll have to wait and see. So I will catch you then. Next week's Sunday Penguin will be back to talking about just a regular old Sunday Penguin. So we'll see what that is. So we got tomorrow, Mythos Monday. Tuesday, I've got a tag for you. I don't know what tag I'm doing yet, but I'm sure there's a tag out there that I'll do. Wednesday, I've got that comic book thing with Steve Donoghue, Epic Comic Book Wednesdays. And later on this week, I've got my review of The Shining, which was kind of a scary book. So I'll talk to you about that later this week. And I will catch you next time here at Stately Vaughan Manor.